Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Fallout Bar. And it is night one of the Premier League. Great night of darts in Belfast. We are back. The travelling circus has returned. There were some great performances. A couple of upsets in there as well. Basically everything that we want a Premier League night to be, other than 10 players and just best of 12 and have draws back. With me, as always, on the Fallout Bar, Mr. Carwyn Evans. Carwyn, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks. Yeah, I will admit, I'm not usually the biggest fan of the Premier League, but I quite like this year's lineup because I think what you've got is 8 players capable of beating each other, and I think it's going to be an interesting 16 weeks of that. I really think we could have people, big names, not making the playoffs, maybe a few surprises in there, but yeah, what a way to start it. As in, I will be honest, I got 3 of the quarterfinals wrong with my predictions, but it's still an enjoyable night as that.
Yeah, it was absolutely that. I got 3 out of 4 right. But mine fell at the first hurdle, which was unfortunate. So other than that, my acca didn't make it past leg 1, and I didn't reload on it either. So I was trying to be sensible, and in the end, probably shouldn't have been, because I'd have been well up if I hadn't been. And yeah, speaking of predictions, straight in there, loads of people in the chat room already. Andy's mentioned it. Told everyone I was the only one. Not only did I go the right way, but I also had Johnny the correct score against Luke Littler at the weekend. Yeah, I think you're right, though, with this Premier League. I mean, after I've finished sort of blowing my own trumpet, it feels like even after week 1, I think we're going to see everyone win a night this time. I don't think we're going to be asking that question the last couple of weeks going, is someone going to win one? I think everyone will wrap a week up with maybe a couple of weeks to spare, to be honest.
Oh, definitely. I think it's probably one of the most open Premier Leagues we'll see in the 16 weeks, especially. I think prior to the not tonight, prior to the Masters, I thought maybe Luke Littler would dominate it, but the way things panned out against Johnny in the Masters and what happened tonight, I actually think not that he's beatable, but players maybe won't fear him as much as they would have done sort of in the last 3 to 6 months, which is great for this Premier League. So I think what you need to maybe engage the fans again is a 16-week tournament where, as you say, if everybody picks up a win, it'll make it interesting. It'll have something riding on it, and we won't maybe see last season or last year, I should say, what we saw where there were 2 players pretty much out of it from. I know they weren't mathematically out of it by week 5, week 6, but yeah, they were pretty much, because they were just, there was that far a gap between the top and the bottom in terms of the way they were playing. But this year, yeah, I fancy them all to pick up that cheeky little £10,000 bonus.
Yeah, definitely. Hello to a few people in the chat room, because there's loads of you in and getting involved already. Malachi's in, Shelty's in. Chris is in. He's got all excited at him making a final. He's gone too far. I mean, Dan Simpson was giving it these top of the league after the first game, to be fair, in the group. Preston's in as well as All Boxed Up. We've also got Bob in there as well. And who else is in? Nicholas is in. James is in. Gordon's in. Loads of you in already. And Andy, who obviously gave me credit for my tip the other day. So we'll start at the beginning, as we always do, and we'll start with game 1, which was Chris Dobey getting his campaign underway up against Gerwen Price. I fancied Price to come out and do a bit of a number on him here. I thought we might see sort of the best of Gerwen Price in this, and he didn't play badly by any means, but it just was a game where nobody could hold the throw, and despite a bit of magic from Price, where I think he levelled up with the... No, did he go in front with the 1-2-4 out? I think he did, didn't he? The 1-2-4 put him 4-3 up. Despite that bit of magic from him, he just couldn't kick on. And when it mattered, I think there were about 5 breaks of throw in the end. And we just didn't quite see the performance we thought from him. And Dobey just weighted him a little bit. The doubling was great, and sort of did what he could.
Yeah, and I think that's it. As in, yeah, I expected a big performance from Price. This was, as you can probably imagine, being the only Welshman in the tournament, one of the quarterfinals I got wrong. I fancied a big Yes, yeah. I think he's got over starting to get over his demons of last year, and we'll see a better version of him. But credit to Dobey, and if you hit anything over 50% of your doubles, you're very hard to beat. And Dobey 6 out of 10 on the outer ring, which will win you most games. Unless you meet somebody like I don't want to give any spoilers away, but the winner of the night had a tremendous doubling attempt in the final. But yeah, you're right. In those middle legs, when Price probably needed just to take control, having the throw, was unable to do so. And with Dobey, I know they broke each other twice, I think, in the middle part of the game, but with Dobey being able to stick in those legs, as in he then from 4-3 down found the scoring at the right time and hit the doubles and got the crucial break in the ninth to then hold in the 10th leg. And I think for Dobey, sort of not being in it last year, it was important for him to start well, because I think it's games. I don't want to sort of say that Price isn't at the level of both Lukes, but at the moment he probably isn't. So games against the likes of Gerwen Price, MVG, Rob Cross, if you want to make the playoffs, they're the games you have to win. And credit to Chris, he did that tonight and was rightly at the top of the table after game one.
Yeah, exactly that. He's got himself a win. He's got himself points on the board early on. It's what you want, isn't it, from week one? You don't want to be, even just going into week two, you don't want to be chasing. You don't want to be thinking, you know what, I'm behind here already and I've got something to pull back. And speaking of being behind, it felt like, I know Gerwen Price went 1-0 up in this game and he went 4-3 up in this game. But to me, just watching it, it felt like he was always behind and chasing. It never felt like he could quite kick on. And I think we'll see better from him as it goes along. I don't think this is the sort of performance where he's already thinking, get me on a beach, I don't want to be here. But it is going to have to improve a little bit from him as we go through this game.
Definitely, because like I said, for Dobey, these are the games he should be winning. For Price, it's exactly the same. If he's got aspirations of making the playoffs, he's got to win these matches, because when there's 6 players fighting for 2 places, every defeat costs you. And with, again, I don't want to spoil before we get there, but with one of the Lukes losing early tonight, it adds a bit of pressure, because he'll now be having to make up points going forward. So it's certainly results tonight have certainly thrown a spanner in the works early on for maybe those who are thinking, like, 2 players will run away and 6 of us will be fighting. So yeah, Price will need to get his campaign up and running next week if what we've seen on his social media pages is what we're meant to believe, that 2025 is a new year, different attitude, different treatment of the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely that. Another person who's going to have to get his campaign up and running next week is Stephen Bunting. His return to the Premier League after a very long time away kicked off against Rob Cross in a game that would probably be one of the easier starts you'd want, at least, going into it. I mean, Rob's a fantastic player. He's number 4 in the world. By no means is it an easy game, but compared to playing MVG, Littler, Luke Humphries, you'd probably take Rob Cross first week if you got offered it as Stephen Bunting to get your campaign off to a good start. But he 100%, wasn't able to find that top level we've seen from him recently.
No, that's exactly it, is it? That's exactly it. He'd have seen this fixture, he'd have seen the top half of the draw and thought, ooh, I fancy making a final in week 1 with the way I've been playing. And I don't know whether he put too much pressure on himself or too much expectation, but he never really got going. And I know we saw the 137 out, but it wasn't the ruthless performances we've seen from Bunting recently, where he's just been unplayable in patches and sort of running away with games. And I think, again, Cross deserves a bit of credit, because we know that Cross is a battler, and a game like this sort of suits him down to a T, really, where it's a bit scrappy. But yeah, Bunting will be heading back from Belfast a bit disappointed that he probably didn't collect a few points tonight.
Yeah, definitely. What I probably missed when I was I did actually have Rob Cross winning this game, but what I probably missed when saying that this was a nice start for Bunting, he lost his last 8 on the bounce against Rob Cross. So maybe not. Maybe he thought this was an absolute stinker for him. And it was another one, like I say, there was a bit of magic from Bunting. The 137 was lovely with the tops. But again, it came down to the outer ring. And like in the first game, Rob Cross was just better on the outer ring. You up pushing 55% on his doubles. And that was the difference, really, in this game. There wasn't a huge amount else in it.
No, and that's the thing, and it all boxed up makes an interesting point in the chat that Rob Cross would have also been looking at this draw thinking, oh, it's a nice top half. If I beat Bunting, I fancy my chances. And that was exactly it tonight. With the way the draw panned out, those 4 in the top half would have thought at the start of the night, I can make a final here and get my campaign going. And as you say, anything over 50% on the doubles at this level, you're hard to beat. And when Cross is in that sort of mood, he seems to run with it and he seems to put a performance together capable of beating most players in the world. And sometimes he makes darts look easy, Cross, and other times I feel he pauses and makes darts look very, very hard. But in this instance, against a player in form, he got over the line, points on the board, and happy to sort of still be in the hat after the quarterfinal.
Yeah, 100%. Then, I think we had the game of the night, didn't we? Let's be honest. This was absolutely brilliant to watch. And if you just looked at it on pure stats, there's not really any way that Michael van Gerwen could win this game. He's been outdone in every category. And he's won it 6-5. It was just magic from the pair of them. Almost 114 average from Littler in getting beat. I don't really know what else to say. It was just brilliant.
Nothing in darts should be illegal, but losing with 114 average should. As in, his doubling percentage is even better than MVG's. Of course, MVG had more chances at a double, but
be better. That's the thing.
I don't. Yeah, this game was just insane, and I think MVG deserves credit for holding it together because from 5-3 up, once Littler gets in that zone when he starts bang, 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 and gets it back to 5-all, in your head, well, in my head anyway, I thought there was only one player winning that last leg.
Yeah,
obviously,
it felt like that, didn't it?
Yeah, obviously MVG starting the leg with a 180 significantly helped him. But even then, after 6 starts, there's only a point in it. And what a game. As in, if this is what it takes MVG to beat Littler and for Littler to lose to MVG, they can play each other every week if it starts like this, because what a game, and what a way to start the Premier League as well. If like me, maybe you're not a biggest fan of the Premier League, in the third game of the night, we had 12 180s, 114 average in defeat, 161 checkout, as in it pretty much had everything, and an upset, which is bonkers to think that MVG losing is now MVG winning is now classed as an upset.
That is absolute just nonsense, isn't it? Let's be honest. Bob kindly points out the second highest losing average in the Premier League. I'm trying to wrap my brains to think what the highest one was, and it's not coming to me, but someone, probably Bob or someone else, will definitely know that in the chat room. Yeah, just really good darts from the pair of them. MVG looked right up for it, didn't he, for this one tonight? Now, we'd had a few words in the build-up about Luke not getting there on time and making the other 7 wait for the media duties, which understandably so. Like, he wasn't 2 minutes late, it was 45 minutes late as well, and they're all sat around when you're preparing for the start of the competition. I kind of get it, but I don't think that bothered Luke one bit, did he? Just laughs it off, moves on. Nothing like that is going to wrestle him. But I think it did help MVG. I think it gave him a little extra edge.
Definitely. It probably gave him that bite he needed because in recent times, as in Littler's had his number and he's made light work of beating MVG on the whole in recent times. So for him to just have that niggle, have that reason to find the extra 10%, certainly helped MVG, and I'm pretty sure Littler won't be late again. Well, actually, I'm not sure of that because Luke Littler's world champion. He does what he wants, as in he's an 18-year-old who's living the dream. And but yeah, if that's what it takes his opponents to rally them up to beat him, then it'll certainly make it an interesting 16 weeks. But for the first time in a long time, it looked like MVG wanted it and was hungry for it. And I think for the sake of darts, having an MVG perform like that and an MVG in that right frame of mind is what the darting world needs. The more people we can get who beat Littler, just to give them that confidence to beat him on a regular basis, the better his game will get and the better darts will be for us all watching at the venue or on telly.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you, James, as well. James just throwing the stat in there because Bob was struggling to find it as well. Highest ever losing average was, of course, Mr. Phil Taylor against Roman van Barneveld back in 2015. Yeah, like Shelty mentions, it looks like Littler brings out the best in MVG. He definitely does, and he does want to prove. It feels like he wants to prove a little point. The other thing that was great about this game, which probably elevated it to another level as well, as Maliki rightly points out, it was great to have Wayne Mardle back calling games on Sky Sports tonight. Obviously, we know everything that he's gone through recently with his wife passing away. So to see him back, and I mean, what a game to come back to. It was almost like they knew, like upped it just for Wayne for that return. So yeah, Gordon also mentioning that it just elevates the game a little bit more by having that great call from Wayne Mardle throughout it as well.
Definitely, his voice with that game is a match made in heaven, and the players delivered as if they knew they had Wayne back in commentary for that game. It all came together like a wonderful piece of music. It was just, fantastic.
Final quarter-final of the night was a game that was relatively comfortable for Luke Humphries in defeating Nathan Aspinall, but one that it felt like could have been a lot closer. There were early missed opportunities from Aspinall. I think he missed 5 darts at double in the first leg, where Humphries also missed 3 clear darts at double in that one as well. Then found himself 4-0 down and almost out of it at that point. If you were betting with the sponsors tonight as well, your bet was already in at that point. MGM have got a lovely little offer on for anyone that is having a punt, that they've got an early payout offer. If your player goes 3 legs up, then it pays out as a winner early, which is always a nice one to take advantage of, because there was a little fight back then from Nathan Aspinall, which might have made you start to worry slightly on your pick as it got back to 4-2, which realistically should have been 3 apiece. At that point, it's anyone's game, but from 4-2, Humphries just turned it on a little bit again and finished the game off, and finished off a really good performance from him to get his campaign underway with his first win.
Yeah, it's interesting, really, because both players are the same amount of darts at a double, and one at 20% and one at 60%. And this was the prediction in the quarterfinal I got right, believe it or not. I did fancy Humphries here. I didn't expect it to be quite as comfortable, but then when you look at sort of 105 average and to a 95 average, and yes, missed doubles comes into play there, because when you look at the stats, apart from the 140s, Aspinall scored more turns, same amount of 180s, but 10 points in the average, and it was Humphries' finishing, and it was sort of the big checkout at the right time. And I think it was the third leg when Asp had missed 3 darts, I think, left himself 20. Humphries on 139. He takes the 139 out. And that is why Humphries is world number one. Because when you think you've got a chance of coming back, he spoils the party with some magical darts. And from 4-0 up, it just... Yes, we saw a mini fight back, but it was inevitable, really. And that Humphries would just get the job done because he just looked too good throughout, and his sort of 2-3 dart combination finishes just throughout that game were just on the money, really. He struggled more when he had a 3 darts at a double, but yeah, it's as somebody says in the chat, Humphries just different gravy, and when he's in that mood, and I didn't, again, having seen what happened the game previous to his, as in he must have thought, right, let's get a bit of a lead on Littler in the table, and he decided to do that in style.
Yeah, he absolutely did that. I had actually forgotten that when the 139 went in, that Asp had actually missed 3 clear darts at double to win that. So realistically, he could have been 4-2 up Asp after 6 legs, which is a very different game and puts a lot more pressure on your opponent at that point. But he missed the opportunities, he missed too many chances. They had the same number of darts at double, and Humphries is the one walking off with a 6-2 win. So that tells you pretty much everything you need to know in this game, that if you're not going to average as high as Humphries, which rarely you will do these days, let's be honest, you've got to be good on the outer ring. And Ash just wasn't tonight. But there were quite a few regrips from him. But I'd actually thought, performance-wise, I didn't think it was awful. If he can tidy up the doubles, I think he will win at least a night, probably multiple nights. And I think he'll be competitive all the way to the end because he always just seems to be in this Premier League.
Oh, definitely. And if you look at it, tonight will probably be Aspinall's toughest night in the 16 weeks, because having to get to the final tonight, you'd have to beat the world number one and either the world number 2 or number 3. So in terms of being too disappointed with how it goes, I don't think he needs to be. As in,
no, you sort of beforehand in the schedule, you write this off, don't you? You go,
yeah.
You know what? If I pick up points, great. If I don't, next week it really doesn't matter.
No, exactly, and that's the thing now, isn't it? Next week his campaign starts, and that's probably when we'll see where his game's at, and if his re-gripping affects him or not, but in a game where he can win. When, no disrespect to him against Luke Humphries, as in obviously he's more than capable of beating Luke, but you've got all your sort of everything to go right for you to get that win, and just tonight Humphries was better.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, you've just got to be a little bit smart with it, haven't you, in terms of looking at it and not getting yourself too down about it, and the fact that if you're banking getting into the top 4 on beating Luke Humphries on a regular basis, you're going to be struggling. However, there are a lot of other opportunities out there, and he's got plenty of time left. If you're going to lose week 1, and you've still got 15 weeks to go. Into the semi-finals then, and Chris Dobey against Rob Cross. I don't, like I say, we'd prefer the format not to be this, and it just be a straight league phase rather than being the night winner every week. But this felt flat once we got to the semi-finals, and it felt like it was almost struggling to hold my interest a little bit, and the performances in this game probably didn't help that either from the pair of them. Both of them dipped from the first match quite considerably. And while we had a couple of magic checkouts, the overall standard of this game it felt a bit off.
Oh, it was pants, wasn't it? And one thing I will say about Chris Dobey, because I checked his stats after 2 legs, and after being 6 out of 10 against Price, he was 1 out of 10 against Cross. What he did do then was go 5 out of 7. So if you sort of break it up into two,
he did pull it back quite well.
Yes, yeah, because I was cursing him for beating Price with such a decent standard of doubling and then not being able to hit a band or let alone a double. But yeah,
so was I after my accumulator went down on that one.
It felt a bit like here you had two players who probably didn't expect to win their quarterfinals and were so relieved they'd won their quarterfinals, forgot they had to play again, didn't warm up, and came on cold. And whilst, yes, we did have some beautiful ton-plus finishes, on the whole, this game just lacked that magic. And I don't think it helps. It came off the back of a Humphries 105 average, an MVG 105 average, and a Luke Little 113 average. To then go to low 90s and below 90, it was just a bit of a letdown, really.
It's tough to follow it up, isn't it? And that is the problem both ways round with this format for me. Like, by the end of the night, you've almost forgotten how good the performance was from Littler and MVG because so much has happened after it. But then to go into the semi-finals off the back of those performances, it's also very hard to follow that up as well, especially when you are the players in the other side of the draw. That it's been a while since you've played for a start, and also, see, we are rarely going to see. We might see it once in a blue moon that Dobey and Cross and Bunting are going to average as high as what we've seen from Littler. Like they're capable of it, certainly. But we're not going to see it very often, where we will see it a lot more often from those three in the bottom half. But like you say, I don't want to give them too much stick for it. Like, it is tough to then play your second game after the night after quite a break when they're only quite short matches as well. And we did see the two best finishes of the lot in there with the 132 and the 170 from Chris Dobey. And for him, performance aside, 4 points picked up on night one. Absolutely the dream start for him.
Oh, definitely. And I guess he's got to look at it as well. We're 4 points, but taking points off people who he'll be fighting with for league position come week 16. So for him to start so well, yes, it'll give him confidence that, and I guess just reassure him that he deserves to be there and that he should be there, and that all the doubters can say whatever they want. I picked up 4 points, but just in terms of his aspirations of making the playoffs, he's 4 points ahead of Luke Little after week one. I said if he carries on like that, he'll be 64 points ahead of him by week 16.
That, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. So whilst his performance here was poor by his standards, and he probably admit that himself, he won the game. And in this short format, in this sort of 16-week traveling glorified exhibition, whatever you want to call it, it's all about picking up points by hook or by crook. So yeah, pretty almost the dream start for him, but getting to a final on week one certainly would have made him very happy.
Absolutely that. Second semi-final, Michael van Gerwen against Luke Humphries. This was a cracker. This was a really good watch. Back and forth. They sort of had it all, really, other than, like I say, the two best checkouts that we saw from the game before. This one, the averages were good, the performances were good. And in the end, I've said it a couple of times tonight, but the doubling was the difference. In that tight game, it went all the way to a decider. Luke Humphries' doubling just got him over the line against someone that averaged higher than him in this game.
Yeah, this is a game that may haunt Michael van Gerwen for a while. After doing the hard work in beating Littler like he did and breaking Humphries twice in a row to go 4-3 up, he then forgot how to hit a double and pretty much lost the game there and then. I know it went to a last leg decider, but I had a feeling once Humphries got it back to 4-4, I couldn't see Michael getting that other break to win the game. And I know we had a dart at the bull in the decider, but I don't know. I never fancied that for some reason. I think, yeah, I don't know. it almost felt like he knew his race was run when he didn't go 5-3 up when he had the dart.
Yeah, leg 8 was that big moment, wasn't it? It was it 6 darts he missed at
Yeah.
40? I think it was. He that's he was well ahead in that leg as well. And to go 5-3 up there, the game's probably done. But at that point, yeah, like I say, doesn't win it. And then next leg, I know it was a bit of a shocker for Michael. And yeah, there's a lovely 120 out from Luke, but there was no pressure on it. Like Michael wasn't even on a finish. He had 6 darts at it, maybe even 9 darts at it if he needed it, the way that leg was going. And I think I felt the same as you. When it came down to that 130, even though we got the treble off the good marker with the first dart, I'd never really fancied it. And where the dart went sort of low into the 17, I don't think Michael really fancied it either, to be honest. He didn't throw it, wasn't thrown with confidence. He didn't put it particularly get anywhere near it really. And I think that was the big thing. And then coming back for 45, you didn't ever for a second believe that Luke Humphries was going to miss.
No, that's it. He's got this knack of winning games he shouldn't win. And I think that's what makes him such a great world number one. And the fact that he went on that incredible run he did year before last. Was it? Yeah. Where he won everything up to the Worlds. And because he just never looked out of games and never looked like losing, even when he was behind in games. And his nickname is so apt, being Cool Hand, because nothing phases him. As in, yes, sometimes he may look a little bit flustered, but he's still got this ability of just keeping calm under pressure. And if he's got, as in, if somebody had one dart, if you ask somebody to one dart to save your life, you'd probably pick Luke Humphries just because you'd fancy him. But just, yeah,
You just think he's not going to get rattled, is he? He's not going to be worried about the occasion. He'll just go and do it.
Yeah, and it's an unbelievable knack he has of winning games he shouldn't win, and I think being that good at it, he'll be around world number one, world number two, top 4 for years, and yeah, it's just I think we should enjoy it while we are in this, I guess, second golden era of darts. The fact that you've got 2, 3, 4 players capable of being magical on that stage.
100%. And like, sort of teed this up perfectly for the final as well, in which Cool Hand is the perfect way of describing him, because he didn't play his best in this final by any means, but he was 86% on his doubles. He missed 1. 6 of 7 on the outer ring is just utterly ridiculous in a final. And I think the only shock here was that he didn't end up wrapping up the whitewash. And that was credit to Chris Dobey for somehow at 5-0 down finding a 1-2-6 checkout to get himself a leg on the board. Because Luke just never gave him an opportunity. Every time he had one, it went.
Yeah, such a bizarre final, because a bit like the Little Van Gerwen game, whilst yes, that was much closer, you look at the stats of this game, and okay, take the doubling out of it, because Dobey was only 25% and Humphries was 86%. So yeah, there's a clear visible difference there. But in terms of the scoring segment of the game, there wasn't much in it. Dobey finished with a higher average, and that's with Humphries only missing 1 dart at a double. So it's not like he's thrown darts away to reduce his average. So it was one of those performances where Dobey's just got to go off stage and think, I've played pretty well there. I've not done much wrong. Just Humphries has had a 15 minutes, 20 minutes where everything's gone for him. And don't beat yourself up about it, because he may never be that accurate against you again. But strange final. And I guess that's what you get from that's what you get from the world number one. He's there for a reason.
Yeah, we had 4 ton plus outs between them in 7 legs of darts, which is just ridiculous. 200 outs from Humphries, who also had a 128, and then the 126 from Dobey. I think if this had been round 1, the quarter final, I'd have been really concerned for Dobey with this performance because he, like you say, he's played all right and got absolutely demolished. But the fact that he's got 4 points on the board, it doesn't matter as much. Like, I feel like this could have really rattled him in week 1 if this was in the quarter final. But for him, the bonus is the fact that he's not had to play Luke until the final. Next week, he's got to play in week 1, and he's going to have to get closer than this, you feel, because it's going to matter more. But it's still a really good start for him. 4 points on the board. You'd have absolutely snapped your hand off for that. You take it, you're second in the table, and you've got an opportunity to kick on. And like I say, maybe you write next week off and say, look, if Luke plays like this again, I don't get any points, but I'm still averaging 2 points a week, which is, as we know, if you do that throughout the tournament, you're going to be okay.
Yeah, and I think if I was in Chris Dobey's corner, what I would tell him is the likelihood is Humphries does not go 6 from 7 on the doubles next week. As
No.
in, he'll play well, he may average more, but he will give you more chances. He will not take 3 ton plus outs he took in that final.
Yeah.
As in, he will not do that again, or I'd be surprised. So take some positive from the fact that he's had a storming week on the doubles and write it off tonight, but bounce back next week and just score like you did. You'll get chances. You'll pinch a few legs. You go 3-3 after 6 legs. Anything can happen. It's a best of 5 then, and yeah, I think he'll also take a lot of positives from the fact that he's made a final on the first week, because just proves to himself that he's not out of his depth.
Exactly that. And I think, like I say, I think you're right. In terms of the world number 1, the famous Mr. Phil Bars, he just does some unbelievable work for us. We've got a clip from him to round this out. Before we get into predictions, we will hear from your night 1 winner of the Premier League in Belfast tonight. And then I think the full interview, as always, will be available on the channel. But then it is time for you all to get involved. If you want to get involved with that as well, remember, you have to click subscribe. If you don't, then we don't let you in the chat room, because we are basically we're just like that. Unless you're giving us something, we're not giving you anything. So click subscribe and click like as well. I think everyone crack a little like on there that's watching as well. But here he is after his win on night 1 in Belfast, world number 1, Luke Humphries.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I don't want to make it too much about him because it's my night, but Luke is the best player in the world. There is no, come on, we all know it's not something that you want to fight. He is the best player. He's performing the best. He's just been a bit unlucky as a tiger on his back of being the world champion. Everyone wants to beat him, and this will happen. This will happen over his career. But for me, I always know that I can compete with the best, and you don't get to number 1 for nothing. So yeah, for me, I'm looking forward to playing him in many games this year, and I'm going to have to be at my utmost best, because like Michael played tonight, absolutely brilliant, fantastic game. It's going to be a tough one to match that as a better game the whole 16 weeks to us. I thought it was one of the best games in the Premier League's ever seen. So yeah, he's playing well. Just a bit unlucky at the moment, but yeah, he does drive you on. He makes you want to be better, and he's a fantastic talent. He's just going to be so great over the next 20 years, and it's up to me to get better to try and challenge him.
Every time we listen to Luke Humphries, we say about how well he speaks. But I don't think I can think of a recent world number 1 that would be sat there saying that someone else is the best player in the world.
No, and what I find very interesting with that clip is he said, I don't want to make it about him because it's my night, yet proceeds to talk entirely about Luke Littler. As in, based on stats and the recent World Championship, yes, you could argue that Luke Littler is the best player in the world. But the last 2 tournaments that have been on our televisions, Luke Humphries has won them. Now, I know he's not somebody to blow his own trumpet because that's not his style. But just talk about yourself a bit, Luke. As in, you're playing well, mate.
I know, that's it. Maybe he was struggling with that because he was on the stage for about 40 minutes afterwards talking to Sky. So maybe he was done with talking about himself and just wanted to talk about someone else briefly.
He's the only player who's won. He's won his last 8 games. No other player in World Darts has won their last 8 games.
No, that's it. Yet he's stood there talking about someone else and saying that someone else is the best player in the world. Nonsense from the world number 1.
Nonsense.
Is what I'm going to call it. But on we go to some more nonsense, and it is time for predictions. And although I did get my prediction right last week, I'm going to mention it just once more. We'll get it in there once more that Johnny Clayton would beat Luke Littler 4-2.
We are not worthy.
No, but I feel like this is where we come crashing back down to earth with the lottery that is the BetMGM Premier League. And night 2, we go to Glasgow. And we go to Glasgow without a Scottish player in the field for the first time in as long as I can remember, possibly ever.
Possibly.
And we start off, just as they would want it in Glasgow, with an all-English clash between Rob Cross and Luke Littler. First up, where are you going, Colin?
Now, I know one of these players got a win tonight and one didn't, but I've just got a feeling that that Rob Cross can't live with Luke Littler like MVG did tonight. Now, I'm not saying Luke Littler will hit the same 113 average as he did tonight, but anything in excess of 105, and I don't think that Rob can keep up with him. So with that in mind, I think Littler wins 6-3.
Couple of people in the chat room agreeing with you as well. Gordon's got it 6-3, as has Malachy. All Box Up's got it 6-2 for Littler. Evening, Anthony. Always lovely to have Anthony in. Not joining us on here for tonight, but always lovely to see him in the chat room as well. We also got Bob with Littler 6-4 and James with Littler 6-3. And I don't think this is the one for me to be controversial. It's not. I'm not going the other way on this one. I've got away with it, and I'm now going to go back to the safe bet. I just think Littler's standard is too high, and I think it's slightly wider than you. I've got it 6-2 for Littler in this one. I just think he'll come out the blocks flying again. First game of the night, and Cross just won't be able to live with it. Up second, we have an opportunity for Michael van Gerwen to set up a rematch with Luke Littler already because of the beauty of this format. Second game, Michael van Gerwen plays Stephen Bunting. My turn to go first this time. And this is possibly where we start to worry about Stephen Bunting for me in this Premier League. We know how good he is. We know what form he's been in. But I fancy Michael van Gerwen wins this one. I think he'll be up for it again and fancy that it's a chance for him to get a couple of points on the board. He'll be feeling confident going into playing Littler in the next round if he does win it as well. 6-3. And Stephen Bunting is bottom of the table with no points after 2 weeks.
This is where we disagree then.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't think MVG can replicate what he did tonight. And I think Stephen Bunting will get better. He'll have that first night nerves gone. He'll know he's in a battle. And he wins 6-4.
It is a lot tougher to have an edge against Stephen Bunting because he's just a lovely bloke.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see it. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think he wants to go out there and he wants to beat everyone in this tournament. I just liked what I saw with him tonight, even though he only won one game.
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
Gordon's got it 6-4 for MBG. All box ups with me at 6-3. Malachi's got it bunting 6-5. He's on your side of the fence. Bob 6-4 and James 6-3. Into the bottom half of the draw. And this one feels important for both players, as Nathan Aspinall takes on Gerwen Price. Your turn on this one, and this is the battle of me and you, this one here. This is next Thursday night. It is me against you. Which way are you going?
In the grand scheme of things, I think if this was a football game, he'd have 0-0 written all over it. In terms of the lineup for the evening. You know what?
Unfortunately, we don't have draws in this anymore.
No, we don't. We don't have draws, do we? I don't. I think Price wins, and I think he might be quite comfortable. I say quite comfortable as in is 60 quite comfortable. I don't know, but Price to win 6-3. I think.
Surprise as ever, Carwyn Evans picks the Welshman to win.
Yeah,
but I'm with you.
Are you?
Like it. I don't like it, but I am with you.
Didn't expect this.
I think this is better from both of them next week. But 6-5 scrap, because Nathan Aspinall loves to be in a 6-5 scrap. But Gerwen Price is the one that hits the winning double. In the chat room, Malachi's got Price 6-4, slightly wider. All box ups with Price as well at 6-4. Price 6-5 for Gordon. He's with me. James has got it 6-4. Bob's got it even wider, got it 6-2. There's nobody picking Nathan Aspinall in the chat room, which bodes really well for an upset.
Yeah, I think the Asp probably needs to win more than Price next week, but I don't know. I'm
the other way. I think Price needs it. I don't see us having a situation where Nathan Aspinall loses his head after 2 weeks. However, I get it. As much as he's making all the right noises at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if Asp's injury may be more than he's letting on, and that there is a bigger issue there. But realistically, both of them need a win next week if they are going to push and try and get into that top four. Because, whoever loses next week, I think, is in a bit of trouble early on.
And then finally, we have the rematch of tonight's final. And I'm going for exactly the same score.
Ooh.
But in a slightly different way, where I think Humphries plays to the level that he played in his first couple of games, where he's sort of mid, like 105, 106 sort of area. And that Dobey just struggles to stick with him. I don't think it'll be as much as he pings in 6 out of 7 on the double, but I think his scoring power will give him enough opportunities that 50, 55% on the doubles will still win in the game 6-1.
Yeah, I'm with you that Humphries wins. And again, I think it's quite comfortable. But I think Dobey starts better, and he doesn't find himself. Was it 5-0 down before he turns up? So 6-3 Humphries, I think, which is in this format quite comfortable as well, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You've got a few people with you on that as well. Malachi's got it 6-3. for Humphries, as has Gordon, as has Bob, and as has James as well. Everyone in the chat room going that same way as you with 6-3. Yeah, I just fancy that it's possibly a little bit wide. So this is all what's up with me. He's gone 6-1. He's also mentioned, Ash never mentioned that. He doesn't really. And I genuinely think in his head, he believes that he is just not letting go of the dart until he's completely comfortable with it. But yeah, I think it is an element of it at least. But it is also, like I say, the injuries do play a part as well. So now this is the difficult bit of the night. You've got to remember who you've picked to go through the first 4 games, because I want a pair of finalists and a winner from you, Mr. Farwin Evans.
So Luke Littler makes the final in the top half, and do I be brave, or is it too early for that nonsense yet? And Gerwen Price makes it through to the final of the bottom half, and Price wins 6-5 in the final.
Oh, fantastic. I love it.
There we have it.
I'm a huge fan of that.
And week 2 goes wrong for Gerwen.
This doesn't happen very often.
No.
I'm having a different finalist from the top half. I'm having MVG making the final. But I'm with you. Gerwen Price makes the final, and Gerwen Price wins the final and gets a win on the board in the second night.
Both leagues lose in the semi-final. That's unheard of.
It's a bold prediction. Didn't go as bold as Little Again beat first time round, but I've still found a way to go bold, and it would have been even bolder if you hadn't gone the same way as me.
Sorry for spoiling your big reveal.
No, it's good. It's nothing surer than Aspinall beats Gerwen Price in round 1 now. It's an absolute banker.
Yeah, but we won't remind anybody next week who we picked, and it'll be fine.
No, they'll all have forgotten by then.
Yeah.
Who've we got in the chat room? We have got Gordon has Littler beating Humphries 6-4. Yeah, we didn't do scores, but it's our show. We can do what we want. We've got Littler beating Humphries 6-3 for all watched up. Littler beats Price 6-3. He's also got Price getting through Humphries there as well. Humphries beats Littler 6-4 for Malachi. Humphries beats Littler 6-5 for Max. Evening, Max. I think that's your first prediction of the night. Fair play, getting at the end. I like it. And MVG Price. Bob's got the same final as me, but he's got MVG winning it. The general consensus, as ever, is the 2 Lukes making the final, but we have got a few in there that have got some different ones. And that's where we'll end for tonight. It's been good to be back on the Fallout bars. The start of a long 16-week slog of it, 17 weeks if you include the finals night. I can never remember whether we do one for the finals night or not.
I think we did last year, but I might be wrong.
We did. I think we went rogue at the end, didn't we? And just decided to chuck one in.
Yeah.
The Littler effect. So maybe 17 weeks of it with plenty of darts snuck in between it as well elsewhere. But that is us for night 1 of the MGM Premier League from Belfast. And we will see you all next week after night 2 in Glasgow. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching, and see you next week.